Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We are discussing politics. There is more talk now that President Biden will run for re-election in 2024. And adding to that talk was a move by the president to convince his party to change the lineup of states that hold primaries and caucuses. Those changes would seem to heavily now favor him if he does run again. So, Jim, is this really a good idea for the party and anybody else who might want to run?
Well, the first part of your question, is it a good idea for the party? The answer, I think, is a resounding yes, it is. We've seen what happens when the Democrats have momentum, whatever the reason for the momentum. In this past cycle, it was Donald Trump, it was the Dobbs decision, it was a slate of candidates that were still chasing conspiracy election theories. In a cycle when Republicans should have done well, voters chose the Democrats. So we know what happens when the party gets energized or there's reasons to be energized. We want to keep that energy going. And when you change this up the way it's being suggested to be changed, it engages in states who normally in the past, by the time their state came up, it may have already been over. This gives states an opportunity to show the nation what their issues are as the national and international attention is drawn to them. What's important to them? Some of the Midwest states. What are their issues? What are their concerns? What are they looking for? And it gives them a chance to be engaged, energized, which with an energized base in the spring, we keep them energized into the fall. We need to see more of that. Now, to the second part of your question, as far as Joe Biden trying to scare off any potential challengers, whether he was popular or whether he was unpopular, it is political suicide, in my opinion, for any party to primary a sitting incumbent president of the United States. That usually means you're finished in November. We can't afford to be finished in November. If Mr. Biden signals an intent that he is going to run, it is political suicide for the Democrats to take a shot at him. A, he's earned the right to do it, and we've talked about that, the historic legislation he did last year and the great midterm he had. B, ask Gerald Ford how that worked for him when Ronald Reagan came at him in '76. Ask Jimmy Carter how that fared for him when Ted Kennedy came after him in '80. You can't heal wounds of that degree in time to be successful in November. So I think, irrespective of his popularity, it would be a mistake for the party to put anyone up if Mr. Biden signals his intent to run.
I got a question. What's the fiscal implication of this to the various states across the union that this entire system has changed? Because the Democrats want to go to South Carolina first, what happens to New Hampshire? What happens to the Republican side? Are there going to be two elections? What's the turnout going to be? This was kind of a one-sided decision-making. I don't think there's been any discussion with the Republicans. Well, will you agree to move it down there? So there's much to be discussed about this, and I'm waiting for the pundits, not us, to give us the answers.
Well, the Republicans can go their own way if they choose, and they will. But Iowa and New Hampshire, a lot of great Democrats there, a lot of a lot of really wonderful people. But honestly, neither of those states represents a real careful or consistent image of America, of our American population. And we get more of that in South Carolina and some other states. And so do you want to come out of the gate with someone who's chosen by folks who have a narrow view of what America should be, or a broader view of what America should be? And if you want to start with a broader base, you have to move.
You have to remind ourselves that primaries are tools of the political parties. They can do whatever they want with them. They can hold their convention without holding elections in the Marriott and decide on candidates. It is not dictated in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or any document in the federal government that you have to do a certain thing in your primaries for a particular office. But legislators still have the power across America of setting primary dates. They foot the bill on them. They make sure that they're credible if the various parties choose to participate. And quite frankly, the Iowa legislature and the New Hampshire legislature, both chambers are controlled by Republicans right now. So likely they're going to continue down the path of wanting to be the first primary and the first caucus. In fact, I think there's laws in both those states that dictate we're the first primary, we're the first caucus. If anyone else moves it, then we're moving it sooner. So the Democrats could choose not to participate, but they're not going to just be able to say, hey, I want it on a different date. because that's not how it works. The legislators still have control on setting those dates. And one more thing, with all due respect, Joe Biden didn't win that midterm. He had a great midterm, but the Republicans lost that midterm. I mean, in the end, his approval is still in the low 40s. 2/3 of the American people still think we're on the wrong track. Listen, we had a horrible midterm, but it's on us. We blew it. The president didn't win anything.
To quote John F. Kennedy,
I disagree, Keith. I think that the voters appreciate Joe Biden after all this time. They're appreciating him more every day. The economic numbers that came out today are solid, good numbers, points us in the right direction. The more important statement is that Joe Biden did not lose the midterms. I think that's the more important statement because he was supposed to lose them. And when he didn't lose them, that says a lot about Joe Biden.
So I have to ask this question. Excuse me, Jim, I'll get to you in just a second here. Maybe you'll go ahead and answer this one. So if it was Joe Biden and his policies and how well he's done, and that's what turned the tables for the Democrats in the midterms, then all this talk about President Trump dragging down the Republicans is bogus then. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a combination. I mean, it's obviously, there's no single thing, but you can't, because you don't like Joe Biden or because you're a Republican, you can't discount his successes. Success after success. You know what? He has so much success that we're getting tired of winning. Where'd you ever hear it?
All right, Jim, you've been wanting to get in.
no, it was anecdotal. I wanted to commend Professor Mystic for the "Go Your Own Way" quote in honor of the late Christine McVie and Fleetwood Mac. I thought that was very noticeable.
Governor, you have anything to add on this?
No,
one
I don't. I wish the audience could see us all laughing at some of the jokes that Mystic just threw out there.
All right, we'll take a break and we'll be back in just a moment.